Hello everyone and welcome back to the pond. My name is Frank, aka Bullfrog TCG, and today we have finally got all the Spiritforged cards revealed, so I'm gonna just go through all of the cards that I haven't done yet, and we'll have a little discussion about all of them. I'm gonna try to not go as in-depth on all the cards as I might want to, just to make this video not last like 2.5 hours. But we'll see. But yeah, before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos and you want to see more from me, then please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps to support the channel. And of course, maybe write a comment. And I will be forever grateful. But okay, let's see here. So we've already looked at Against the Odds, I believe, but we have not looked at Armed Assailant. So 6 energy and 6 power for a red unit that has 6 might and accelerate and weapon master. I mean, accelerated units are always good. I haven't played with the set yet, so I'm not sure how impactful this weapon master ability feels. I think it's pretty good because, as a general rule, you can't equip stuff that's already equipped to other units. So the weapon master kind of gets around that. So I think just for that, it's going to be pretty good. And of course, saving a power, like even if it's not equipped, is also nice. So you kind of equip it for free. So yeah, I think this. I mean, paying 7 and 2 power for a 6 might unit that's pretty expensive. I mean, you do get the weapon master, of course. So I mean, all these weapon master cards kind of run into the same problem of if you don't have an equipment, then they're just vanillas essentially. But you know, having extra accelerated units and also like units that are as big as this is pretty good. You don't really want to play it in all the red decks, I think, because like for Jinx, for example, I don't think this is the top end you want for that deck. But in a deck that's more focused on like equipping, like maybe you run this in Draven, for example. So yeah, I'm gonna have to see what we do with this one, but I think it's a pretty okay card. Okay, we've looked at Blood Rush. We've seen the gold tokens, or if you haven't, then we've seen them now. Look pretty neat. I for sure think we're gonna get like a promo version of this that is just like exploding in your face with foil and glitter and everything. But okay, let's move on to Bushwhack. 2 energy and a power for a red spell that has hidden and friendly units enter ready this turn. Play a gold gear token exhausted. This is kind of similar to the Confront that also makes every unit enter accelerated and it draws you a card. This costs a power as well, which is, I mean, it could be very relevant, but it has hidden. But the hidden thing is kind of like, if you want to use it for hidden, you kind of have to hold first, and red traditionally are not very good at holding. So typically I think you're most of the time going to play this for the hard cost for 2 energy. But as we've seen, like if you can play a Confront and you have like a bunch of like mid-sized to like smaller units to play after it, it's a really good card. And this kind of gets you the power cost back because you play a gold token. Like the Confront, I think it draws you a card, but this gets you a gold token. So yeah, I think these kinds of cards are pretty good. I'm not sure how much this kind of card is going to help red, because red is already very aggressive and it has a bunch of cards that already have like accelerate and just enter ready by themselves. But if you run like a deck that doesn't have a lot of those and you want that extra aggression to maybe finish off the game or maybe get an extra push in the mid game, I think this could be pretty good. Yeah. Alright, we have Detonate. 1 energy and a power for a red spell that says kill a gear, its controller draws 2. So this is kind of like the gear version of Hidden Blade. It can kill your own gear to draw 2. If you kill your opponent's gear, your opponent draws 2. I think what's most notable about this one is that you can use it to kill a gold token. To just makes it a 1 energy, 1 power draw 2, which is very sweet. Unfortunately, you can't spend the gold to make this power and then kill that same gold. If you could, that would be pretty disgusting. But I think this card is definitely going to see play, because I mean, we have like a bunch of red or like a bunch of gear removal cards already from Origins. But when you look at cards like Acceptable Losses, that's not going to be as good now, because your opponent gets to choose which ones they want to kill, and especially with a meta that has a bunch of gold tokens, it's not going to be as good. But this is kind of the card that red wants, because for now we've only had the Thermal Beam, and the Thermal Beam is very expensive. So I think for gear removal this is very good. Of course it does make it so that your opponent draws 2 cards. So I think it is, you kind of have to make the same considerations as you do with the Hidden Blade. Like, is it worth it to make your opponent draw 2 cards, or do you just have to deal with it some other way? But for what it does, it is very cheap. and with the upside that you could also just kill your own thing to draw 2, which is very nice. And it does only cost 1 energy, so it's not very, it's very cheap effect to get off. Okay, and then we have the Eager Drakehound, 3 energy and a power for a 3 mighty unit in red, of course, that says I enter ready. So this kind of reminds me of the, I think it's a Legion Rearguard, that is a 2 energy, 2 might, that has accelerate. This is kind of like that, but you don't, I mean the accelerate is on the card, but it has an extra might, so it's a 3 might instead of 2 might. I mean, I think this card is okay, just having stuff that enters ready is good. It's a 3 might, so it's going to trade into a lot of stuff, like if you play this on turn 1. It's very good to kind of get the, it's especially good on turn 1, because then you can, like if you're going second, because then you can like get the lead even though you're going second, which is pretty sweet. It does cost a power, which of course sucks in the early game, but I think for the ability to just conquer a battlefield first, I think is going to be pretty good. But I mean the upside of the Legion Rearguard, for example, is that you do have the flexibility. Like if you don't want to attack right away, you can just play it out without spending the power. So this is kind of a, it's more of a hellbent card, but I mean for what it does, I think it's pretty okay. The gem jammer we looked at, we did not look at the Sentinel Adept. So 3 energy, 3 might for a red unit that has a Weapon Master. Again, like Weapon Master is, it's kind of depending on you having an actual equipment out. If not, this is just a 3/3 vanilla. But with the Weapon Master, I think this could be very good. So yeah, not more to say about that. Then we have our weapon, the Serrated Dirk. So 1 energy for a gear that has equip 1 red power. And it does not give any plus might, but it gives assault 2. Now I think this card is very good. I mean, we've all seen how good Cleave is in red. That just gives plus 3 might for on spell speed or as a spell. No, it gives assault 3 as a spell. I mean, just having this, like an equipment that is this cheap and give it assault 2, like all the Weapon Master cards are all of a sudden going to be able to like just equip to this. So the Sentinel Adept, for example, that we just looked at is going to be a 3/5 with that. I think this card is incredible. It's also going to be really good with the, illusion unit that deals damage equal to the amount of assault it has on it. So yeah, I think this card is definitely going to see play. It's a very good card for red. It's exactly what you want, like, and also in Draven that just cares about attacking, like assault is exactly what you want in that deck. So yeah, I think this card is definitely going to see play. Okay, Void Drone, we have Angle Shot. So 2 energy for a red spell that has a reaction. Choose a unit and an equipment with the same controller, attach that equipment to that unit, or detach that equipment from that unit, and then draw 1. I think this card is really, really good. The fact that you can use it on your opponent's unit and also on your own unit makes it so flexible, and the fact that it replaces itself and it doesn't cost a power, I mean, this card is just insane. You can attack something, and then you can, if your opponent responds, you can use this to just attach an equipment that's equipped to something else you control, and just get that value. Or like if your opponent is attacking you, you can just use this for 2 energy, unattach that equipment, and then, you know, just, I mean, go from there. I think this card is so good, and the fact that it replaces itself, like anything that replaces itself that doesn't have a power cost is just gonna be a good card in general. And I think this, I mean, I'm not sure how often you're going to run this in the main deck, but I think for running it in the side deck, I think it's going to be really good. Like the amount of value you're going to get from using it on your opponent is of course going to vary by how much, like how equipment heavy your opponent's deck is. But I think like going into the Spiritforged format, I think this card is going to be very relevant. Okay, we are looking at a Battering Ram, 5 energy, 5 might. For a unit that says I cost 1 less for each card you've played this turn to a minimum of 1. Okay, so let's say you play a Seal, and then you play something else that's 2 energy off already. So like if you're on 5 might, if you're on 5 energy, you can play a Seal, and then you can play something that costs 2 and then play this for 3. I think it's a very interesting card. I'm not sure how easy it is gonna be to get off, because it's only to a minimum of 1, so you can't like play 5 things that costs 1 on 5 energy and then play this for free. And it only scales by like cards you've played, so unless you play cards that cost 1, you can't like play this out on curve in that sense. Because if you're on 5 energy and you spend 2 energy to cast one thing, then this is only gonna cost 4. I'm not sure. I think it's a very interesting card, and maybe it's not the time for it now. But like if you can chain together like the Serrated Dirk, for example, and Assault and cards like that, and Hextech Ray and stuff that cost 1, then all of a sudden this could become very good. But it does depend on you having a big enough hand. I'm not sure which deck is like trying to run this. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't like familiarized myself enough with the card pool yet to kind of see where this would fit. But I think it's a very interesting ability. And I mean, 5 might for potentially 2 energy is of course very good. And now that I'm thinking about it, I think this is a very good card, but it's very reliant on you having the correct hand to play it out. Because if your hand is full of like 2+ energy cards, then this loses a lot of tempo or loses a lot of value. So, yeah, cool card. I don't know how good it's gonna be. Okay, and then we have Blast Corps Cadet. Blast Core Cadet. 2 energy, 2 might, and then you may pay 1 energy and a power as an additional cost to play me, and when you play me, if you pay the additional cost, deal 2 to unit at a battlefield. Okay, like I think I've said this before, but I really like cards that have this, that let you choose if you want to use the ability or not, or you can just play it out for, I mean, without paying the power cost or without paying an extra energy. I think this is a very interesting card because it allows you to essentially just ping off your opponent's like turn 1 play, for example, just kill it off from the battlefield. I don't know how often you want to use this on turn 1 because paying a power on turn 1 is very relevant. When you're on 3 energy, you set yourself back 1. But I think, as I said, just having the flexibility, yeah, like you could just play this out on turn 1, like as a 2 for 2, which is just a good early drop, and then later you can play it out and then do like the deal 2 to something. And yeah, I mean, just the fact that you can deal 2 to something late game as well makes it so that you can potentially, help you like break point some attacks, stuff like that. You could of course potentially take out a unit. It also gets a buff from stuff like the Void Gate and like the Annie, and if that's a route you want to go. So yeah, I think this card is very interesting. Yeah, I like it. Okay, have we seen this? No, we have not. So Minotaur Reckoner, 5 energy, 5 might. Units can't move to base. Huh. This is very annoying for Yasuo, for what Yasuo wants to do. Yeah, and the fact that this doesn't have to be at the battlefield to get the ability off, it means it essentially also shuts off the Reaver's Row battlefield, which is very relevant, because then you can just play this out and then just attack into your opponent's Kaiser or whatever he's trying to like bounce back from there, which is so annoying. It is. I don't know how often you're gonna play this on the main deck. I mean, 5 for 5 is nice, but it could also just be a 5 for 5 or 5/5 vanilla, which, I mean, vanillas kind of tend to get worse the higher up the mana or the energy curve you get, and 5 for 5 I think is like the breakpoint for now you want your cards to actually do something. I think against like the green purple decks this is going to be very good. Against the Reaver's Row it's very good, and I mean I guess against the body as well with like Misfortune and stuff like that it could also be very good. But outside of that, like there are gonna be a bunch of matchups where this doesn't really do anything. But I think it's interesting the fact that you can play this out and then your opponent can't retreat with anything. Yeah, I think this is going to lead to some very interesting game states. Yeah, cool card. But yeah, I'm not sure how relevant it's going to be or how often you want to play this. I mean, you definitely don't want to play it as a 3-of, but maybe you want to play it as a 2-of in the sideboard, for example. I'm not sure, but cool card. Okay, and then we have a Purged Grimworm, a dragon, new dragon, so 4 energy and 5 might, for a unit that says, play me only to a battlefield you conquered this turn. This is a very interesting ability because, I mean, red as a color doesn't really want you to like stack up units at a battlefield. So I'm not really sure what deck wants to play this. I mean, it is nice to just, if you have cards that want to hold, or if you're at a battlefield that wants you to hold, then this is very good because it's just a 5 might for 4 energy, which is above rate. But I think the fact that you have to play it to a battlefield to conquer this turn, so you can't hold and then play this out. You have to attack and then play it out. So I guess like you can play it out on turn 2. You could swing with your like 2 energy card, conquer a battlefield, and then play this out. I think this is a really good turn 2. But I'm not sure how good it's going to be after that. I mean, just playing cards discounted is always going to be relevant in some way. But I think this as a red card is very interesting. I don't know. Cool card. I mean, we got more dragons, so more support for the Herald of Scales, I guess. Okay, cool. And then we have the Recurve Bow. So 2 energy for a red equipment that has equip 1 red power. And no plus might, but it has when I attack or defend, deal 2 to an enemy unit here. This is also a very interesting equipment. It kind of reminds me of the Crackshot Corsair that deals 1 damage on attack. This also deals damage on defense, so it's kind of like it kind of makes your card into pseudo Ari, like a red version of Ari, because it has the 2 damage or the 2 might difference, I guess, on attack and defense. I think this is cool. I'm not sure when you want to use this, because the thing is, like, dealing damage doesn't prevent your own guy from like getting hit back for full power, which means that if you're attacking with a 3 might unit into a 3 might unit, then they're both gonna die, even though you deal 2 damage to it. I think it could be very good in. No, you can't even play it in Ezreal. I was thinking Ezreal because you want to target stuff, but that's not red, of course. Yeah, I'm not sure what decks want to play this card. But I think it's a very interesting tool to have in red. Yeah, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe you guys could let me know if you have any cool synergies with this one. As I said, I haven't familiarized myself with the whole Spiritforged set yet, so there might be some synergies that I'm missing that I should know about. But yeah, a cool card, but yeah, I don't know how relevant it's gonna be. Okay, and then we have Sudden Storm. 3 energy for a spell that has hidden an action and deal 2 to a unit at a battlefield. If it's attacking, deal 4 to it instead. Okay. I mean, 3 energy is quite expensive, especially if you're only dealing 2. But again, I mean, it is a flexible card. You can deal 2 with it if you want to, if that's what you need in that situation. But I mean, the real power of this card is just playing it from hidden. But again, like this also runs into the same problem as the Recurve Bow. Like dealing 4 damage is only good if you actually kill the unit, or if it's like an important unit that you don't mind trading into. But if you're going for the hold, which again red tends to not want, the 4 damage could just mean nothing if you're gonna trade into it anyways. So yeah. I mean, if you can get like stuff that doubles your triggers, or like makes your spell have repeat, for example. That I know there's one card that does that makes your one card that makes your spells have repeat. Maybe that could be interesting with it. Then you can play it for free from hidden, and then play 3 more to deal 8, which is of course a lot. In that way, it becomes insane. Because I mean, yeah, because you can't technically also use it to just attack something that's attacking the battlefield, even if you don't control anything there. But then I mean, you do have to pay the full price for it, so the 3 energy. I don't know, with the removal spells we have, like this kind of sits in the same spot as Void Seeker in that sense, and the Void Seeker draws you a card as well. The hidden is nice, but I think you'd rather just play Void Seeker. I don't know. The argument of playing this one is of course the fact that it has hidden and you can play it for essentially free. But then it also becomes a lot more limited in terms of where you can play it. So yeah, interesting card. Okay, we've looked at Void Hatchling, I think. We have not looked at Assembly Rig. So 4 energy for a red gear that has 1 energy and a power. Recycle a unit from your trash and exhaust it to play a 3 might mech unit token to your base. Okay. This is a very interesting card as well. I mean, I've always said, like, since we got the Rumble kind of reveals going, that I wanted stuff to make, or I wanted like ways to make mech tokens. And this is definitely one of those ways. Like when you play it out, it costs 5 energy and a power to make a mech. If you play the casting cost and then the activation cost, you do have to recycle a unit from the trash, which is nice because you get the cards back into your deck. I don't know, because the thing about that is that you kind of want you have to get your stuff, you have to make your stuff die to get this off. But I mean, now you have a battlefield that makes it so when you hold or conquer, I think you essentially put the top 2 cards of your deck into your trash. So maybe this could be used in that. It could also be used very efficiently with the inverted timelines. That might be an interesting way to make this deck work, or make this card work. Oh yeah, maybe in like a Reanimator Jinx Annie style deck, where you play a bunch of stuff that dumps stuff into the trash, and then you have this as an additional way to benefit from that. That could be an interesting idea. Interesting card. Yeah, I'm not sure, but yeah, there's definitely room to make this work. I'm just not sure what the best way is. But okay, we have already looked at Draven, we've looked at Ferrous Forerunner, Longsword, Piercing Light, Rel, Rengar. We have not looked at Rumble, I think. So 4 energy and 4 might for the red Rumble champion, Rumble Hot-Headed. Your mechs each have Assault, and then when I conquer, you may recycle another friendly unit to play a mech from your trash. Reduce its energy cost by the might of the unit you recycled. This is a pretty cool card. It's essentially like a reanimator card for mechs. I think the key thing here is that you don't have to recycle a mech. You just have to recycle a unit, but then you have to play a mech. So you kind of get some flexibility there. And I believe you can also just recycle a mech token. I believe that's how that works, even though like technically the reduces energy cost by the might of the unit you recycled. So maybe you do have to actually put it on the bottom. I don't know how that works. Maybe someone can correct me on that, but like in my head that would make sense that you could recycle your tokens to get back stuff from your trash. But I'm not sure. Maybe that's not how it works. I think this is a very interesting card. It does have the assault as well, so your mechs get, so with this and the legend they have both assault 1 and then shield 1. So they can get a buff both on attack and on defense. This only triggers on conquer, so it kind of goes against your high legend ability. This wants you to attack, and the legend ability kind of incentivizes you to hold. Yeah, I think this is a very interesting card. What you can do is like because you have the Ferrous Forerunner that you also kind of want to die like this. So if this dies, you get like 2 mech tokens, and then you can spend one of those mech tokens to get with the Rumble to get the Ferrous Forerunner back for 3 energy instead of 6. Maybe that could be an interesting play. Yeah, I mean I like cards that just interact with the graveyard or interact with the trash in general. I think this is a very interesting card for the deck. I mean, for now we don't really have that many mechs that you want to play out, and most of them are very expensive. So I think like for what it's worth, this can, when you play it out, and then the next turn when you attack, you can essentially get something that is above curve from your trash back, but then you also have to have it in your trash already. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a very good ability. I'm just not sure how like when in the game you want to get this ability, because you do have to have cards in the trash that you want to play out, and like by turn 2 when you play this out, you're not really gonna have anything there, and then by the next turn you might have like a 1-drop, which I mean I guess you don't really care about getting back. We can do like say you play the Gem Jammer, the one that readies. Then you play that on turn 1, you conquer with that, they kill that, and then you conquer with this, and then you get the Gem Jammer back, ready the Rumble, and then move him back again. But then you also have to recycle a friendly unit. Yeah, I don't know. It's a very interesting card, but I don't know when you realistically want to play this. We'll have to see. Maybe I come up with something as well. Okay, we looked at the Doombreaker, we looked at the Lucian, I believe. Didn't we? Maybe not. Okay, Illusion, 3 energy and 2 might for a champion unit, the red Illusion Gunslinger. He has Assault, and when I attack, deal damage equal to my Assault to an enemy unit here. So yeah, I just talked about the Dirk, the little dagger thing. They gave Assault +2. This is going to be very good with Illusion. In the Illusion Legend, this of course gets Assault 2, so it's a lot better there. So it's important to note it doesn't deal damage equal to its might, it deals damage equal to its Assault. So if you play this in the Illusion deck and you put a cleave on it, and this is going to deal 5 damage to something, I mean, yeah, I love this card. I think this is great for what it does. If you can stack a bunch of Assault on it, it can just shoot down like a huge thing. It is, of course, very weak. It's only 2 might when it's not assaulting, so unless you have some way to like bring it back again, it kind of runs into the same problem as the Vi does. Like, Vi is very powerful, but she's really bad on defense. Like on the swingback, she almost dies to, I mean, basically anything. So I don't know, maybe this is better as like a finisher card. But it could also be good in the mid game just to take care of a big threat while also getting a point yourself. Yeah, because in that way it kind of works like a Yasuo, like the green Yasuo. You attack with a big number and then you deal damage and then you also attack big, so you can kind of get to take out 2 things. Yeah, I like it. I like the card. Okay, we've looked at the Rek'Sai. Yes, we have not looked at the Skyfall of Arion. So 3 energy for a red equipment that has equip 1 energy and a power, and it gives +2 might, and it has my hold effects are also conquer effects, and vice versa. Now this is of course a very, very good ability. The first card that comes to mind is the red Kaisa, because you can attack with that, draw 1, and then you can equip this. It becomes a 6 might unit, so it's a bit harder to take care of. And then you also get the draw 1 on hold. So that is one thing you can do with this. What other things do we have? I'm trying to think, like, I mean, you could also, when we get to the red-green color combination, you could put this on Ari, the green Ari, and then make her get a point when she conquers, which is kind of insane. Of course, we can't do that yet, but we could do that when that happens. I think they said that we're going to do that in set 3 or 4, so it's not going to be that long until we can actually see that happen. But yeah, I mean, very powerful card. Like, that's the only synergy I can think of off the top of my head that's gonna be very, very good. I mean, there are definitely others, but I just can't think of any. Can you guys think of any? I'm not sure, but yeah, really, really cool card. And it gives a +2 might. It doesn't cost a power to play out. Very relevant. Yeah, I love it. Alright, and that is all the red cards. We've seen all the red cards now. Yeah, I'm just gonna move on. We're gonna get into the green ones now. So the calm cards. I believe we have not talked about this one. So Desert's Call, 2 energy for a spell that has repeat 2, and play a 2 might Sand Soldier unit token. Yeah, I mean, this is really good if you're lacking a turn 1 play. I also really like the make units with spell cards, because it makes your Aurora decks a lot better. Because this means that you can, it's kind of like the Sprite Call. This means that you can essentially have small units in your deck that doesn't interfere with your Dazzling Aurora. And Desert Call is the perfect card for doing that. I think just being able to make a token for 2 energy, it doesn't cost a power. You can do this on turn 1, or if you have it on turn 2, you can make 2 tokens, which is even better. Yeah, I love this card. I think this card is going to be really good. It's definitely going to see play. I think it's going to make green Aurora decks a lot better. Yeah, I like it. Of course, they don't get the Weapon Master that they get from Azir, but of course, if you play it in Azir, then they're going to get the Weapon Master as well. So, yeah, like it a lot. Okay, we have the Disarming Rake. Disarming Rake sounds like an equipment, not a unit, but it's a very muscular guy. He has cost 3 energy and a power for 2 might. Okay, not that muscular. And then when you play me, you may kill a gear. Yeah, I mean, we have another option of removing gear in green, I guess. It is very expensive. 3 energy and 2 power for 2 might is not a lot. But I mean, of course, you do have the upside of just developing a body alongside the killing of a gear. So that's very good. I don't know if you want to play this instead of the Adaptatron. Maybe you do. The Adaptatron does need to conquer to get the ability off. But I mean, if you want to play this, then I think this is a very good card. I think this card is going to be really good. It's definitely going to see play. I think it's going to make green But then again, you can play the Adaptodon preemptively, so you can play him out just having sit on the board, and then wait until your opponent plays something they want to take care of, and then conquer. Yeah, I mean, the payoff is that you do have to conquer, so if your opponent has a really big battlefield you can't conquer, then it's not going to do anything. So for that reason, this might actually be a bit better, because you're not really playing it out for the might, you're playing it out for the ability. Yeah, I think it's a good card. Good way to get rid of removal. Or get rid of equipment in green. Yeah, like it. Okay, we've seen Doran's Shield, we've seen Feral Strength, we have not seen Guardian of the Passage, a really sick looking card here. 6 energy and 6 might for a green unit that says, when I hold, you may return a unit or gear from your trash to your hand. Yeah, I mean, more animation, it's kind of like the Purple Annie, to get stuff back from the grave. This of course gets back gear as well, so that's very relevant. Yeah, I mean, you really have to go hard into wanting to get these abilities off, because it is expensive, like 6 for 6. Of course it's on rate, but it's still, you're paying 6 energy for a card that has hold, so it doesn't do anything when you play it out. It doesn't do anything when it attacks. It only does something on the next turn. So that makes it like slightly hard to kind of justify putting in your deck. But of course, if you can play this out and get back like a Zani's Hourglass, for example, it's gonna be really, really good, and like get back just like your gears in general, because there are so many good ones. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a really good ability to have. I think it's definitely gonna see play at some point, but I don't know if it's gonna see play in the beginning. But I think when you if you can get this out discounted for like in some way, then I think it's gonna be a lot better. And this could also actually be used with once we get the color combination, used with the gear that makes it so that your hold effects are also conquer effects. So in that sense, you can get this on conquer as well, which is a lot better. But yeah, for now I think this is a good card to have, but I think it might be a bit too expensive. Okay, we have the Lonely Poro here. Look at this poor little guy. He is a 2 energy, 2 might, very cute token. No, cute token, he's not a token, he's a unit. This is a Lonely Poro, and he has Death Knell. If I died alone, draw 1. Yeah, I mean, if I died alone, draw 1. It's such a... If I died alone, it's such a line to put on a card. Wow, yeah, well, if he dies alone, he draws 1. Replace himself if he dies, so, I mean, the obvious deck I'm thinking of is Master Yi, because he really incentivizes you to just dying alone, I guess, or standing alone. Yeah, I think this card is really good. Do you want to play this over the Stalwart Poro? Maybe. I mean, do you lose 1 might, but then it replaces itself as a payoff? Yeah, I mean, I think this card is really good. I mean, I just want to see more Poro so that I can finally get a reason to play the Poro Herder. And I think this makes it a lot more likely that I will. So yeah, I like it. Okay, we have the Navori Scout. 4 energy, 4 might for a unit that has Deflect. Yeah, I mean, just a vanilla with Deflect. I think it's probably not going to see a lot of play in Constructed, but I think it's going to be a pretty cool card in Limited, in Sealed. Just having a Deflect makes it a bit awkward for your opponent to deal with. It is a nice card to play on curve, just a 4 might unit for 4 energy. Doesn't get the power, so you keep your curve. Yeah, but I mean, outside of Limited, I don't really think you want to play this out. Or play this in your deck, just because it doesn't do enough, I feel like, for 4 energy. But maybe I'm wrong. But for now, I don't think this is really a constructed card. Okay, we have a Ribbon Dancer, a really cool card here. 3 energy and 3 might for a unit that says, when I move to a battlefield, give another friendly unit plus 1 might this turn. This is a very, very interesting effect. Like again, like I always think of like Yasuo and Irelia when I look at these like move cards, because those are kind of the move legends. Yeah, I mean, I think this is a very interesting ability. You can move it into a battlefield and then to give like your green Yasuo buff, for example, or give it a pump, like a +1 to make it better at swinging into stuff. The important thing to note here is that it doesn't have to, you don't have to conquer, so you can just move into a battlefield you've already conquered. So that's definitely relevant. You can also just like attack with the Yasuo into something to give it a plus. That could also be very relevant. Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see this getting play. It doesn't got the power. It's a 3 for 3, which is nice. I mean, you can play it on turn 1 if you want, and then give something else a buff. You can play it on turn 2 as well. Yeah, I like it. I like it. We've seen the Royal Entourage, we've seen the Thwonk, we've not seen the Apprentice Smith. So 2 energy, 2 might. When I move, reveal the top card of your main deck. If it's a gear, draw it, otherwise recycle it. Yeah, I mean, I think this card is definitely going to see play in Ornn, where you play a bunch of gears. Just the potential to draw one off your turn 1 plays is always a good thing. Otherwise recycle it. I mean, you can run into the danger of like getting a card you really want but it's not a gear, and then you have to put it on the bottom of your deck and you're like, okay, well, never seeing you again. It is a risky card to play, but if you do play a lot of gears, then I think this could be, the card could be really good. Yeah, but in the right deck is to be said. Okay, the Brutalizer I think we talked about, right? Yeah, I think so, but we did not talk about the Emperor's Divide. 2 energy for a spell that has hidden action and move any number of friendly units at a battlefield to their base. Okay, this is kind of like a flash. You can only target at 1 battlefield, so you can't target from anywhere, which flash can. So in that sense, flash is a bit better if you want to spread your units out to both battlefields. If you have a bunch of stuff at 1 battlefield, this is a lot better. I think the real power of this card is that you can attack with 1,000,000 units into 1 battlefield, conquer, hold, and then when you hold you can move all of them back and then attack into the other one. You could also of course use it defensively. If your opponent's attacking into you, you can just use this to save all of your units. Yeah, I think it's a really efficient card. I think Azir is going to be really annoying to play against if they keep playing this on you. You're like, okay, well, I can just kill all of these tokens, and they're like, no, you can't. 2 energy, baby. Or 0 energy if they pay for hidden. Yeah, I think it's a cool card. I like it. Alright, we have the Legion Quartermaster. 3 energy and 4 might for a very cool looking dude here. That says, as an additional cost to play, may return a friendly gear to its owner's hand. Okay, so this is another one of those like discounted cards. It's kind of like the dragon we saw. Those are 4 for 5. This is a 3 for 4. And you have to return a gear to its owner's hand. So, I mean, you can return a gold token to your hand, and that is like, in some way, that is kind of like paying a power. So then it's like 3 and a power for a 4 might unit. I don't know, I think one way I could see you playing this card is if you play the blue Poro. You can attack with that, make a gold token, and then play this out, just remove the gold token. That could be one way to play this. I'm not sure. I mean, these cards are nice early. I mean, red is typically like the color who wants to see these kinds of cards, like the discounted cards that come down early. They're not as relevant usually in the other colors, because like, and I mean green especially, it tends to be like more of a mid-range color. But I mean, just developing more bodies on the board early is always a good thing, and always like overstated units is always good. But I mean, it does come with a cost, and if you don't have a way to create a gear, if you don't have a gear out, you just can't play this card out, which makes it a lot worse. The returning a friendly gear is very relevant. If you get the right hand, I think this card could be very good. If you get the wrong hand, then this card doesn't do anything because you're getting played out. I think this card is probably not going to see that much play, but maybe it will. Okay, we saw them not so fast. We did not saw the Poro Snacks. 1 energy and a power for a gear that says Poro Snacks. When you play this, draw 1, and then 1 energy and a power, exhaust it to kill this and draw 1. Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing with this one is that it does cost a power to play out. So you might not want to play this like on turn 1. I think it's going to be a lot better in Ornn, because Ornn gets to play this for just 1 energy, and in that case it's going to be really good, just 1 energy for gear that draws 1, that you just have a draw 1 later as well. You can also just use this for like, this is a really good card to pair off with the Legion Quartermaster. You can play the Poro Snacks, play it out, draw 1, use the Legion Quartermaster to bounce it back and draw another one. This doesn't work like the Scrap Heap, so you don't get the draw like the killing draw if this doesn't get killed by its own effect. So you can't use something that kills the gear to kill this and then draw one. You do have to kill it by its own effect, which is relevant. But I think this card is going to be really good in Ornn. I'm not really sure if you want to play this in other decks. Maybe you do, because just getting a draw is nice, and like if you get this late game, it could be very good. But I mean, just setting yourself back a power early game could might be a bit too much for certain decks to handle. But yeah, I mean, I think this card is definitely going to see play. And I wonder, does this... Now, this doesn't count as a Poro card, does it? For the Poro Herder? No, probably does not. I think it cares about the unit type. Yeah, like this unit typing here. That would be so sick if this counts as a Poro card for that. But okay, we have the Simian Ancestor. Now, this card looks insane. It's just a monkey grandpa with like a pig in a blanket on the top of his head. I love it. Okay, 5 energy and a power for 5 might, and when you buff me, ready me. Okay, yeah, I like this card. I like it in what is the guy? Lee Sin. Yeah, I think this card is really good on Lee Sin actually, because then you can play this out, buff him, attack into the Monastery of Harana, and then just draw one, and then you can like move him back and then buff him again and then ready him and attack into another battlefield, for example, on the next turn. I'm not sure. I mean, it like if you play the arena bar, you could also play this, of course. So yeah, I like it. I think it's a cool card. It does cost a power, so maybe not a 3 of, but I do like it as like 1 or 2 of. Yeah, cool card. I mean, it's a grandpa monkey, so I mean, you do have to give him some respect. Okay, we've seen the Stellacorn Herder, we've seen Aphelios and Azir, we've seen the Angel, we have not seen the Heart of Dark Ice. 3 energy and 1 power for a gear that has Exhaust, give a unit plus 3 might this turn. Now this is one of those this is one of those cards that, like, it's such a good card to have sitting on your table, but you have to play it out first. So you kind of have to take a turn off to play it out. I think if you get this out, you feel so good, and you just have this sitting there and it doesn't get removed. You feel so good because, I mean, giving your Yasuo plus 3 might, for example, is going to be insane. And I mean, you could also just use this. You could also just use this on like turn 2 if you're going second, for example. Your opponent conquers, and then you play something on turn 1, and then turn 2 you play this out. You give your little 2-drop or 3-drop plus 3 might, and then you attack into whatever your opponent attack with. Yeah, I like this card. I mean, as I said, it does cost something to play out. It gets, of course, a lot better in Ornn, because then you can play it for just 3 energy, which is very relevant. And this is also a card that's going to be very interesting to use with the Heimerdinger, because then you could essentially give something plus 6 might. Yeah, I mean, Heimerdinger's gotten a lot of support this set, so I'm looking forward to play around with him a bit. But yeah, I like the card, but of course you do have to play it out to get the effect off. So yeah, okay. I don't believe we've seen Janna yet. No, we haven't. 3 energy and a power for 3 might for a champion unit called Janna Savior. Reaction: when you play me, heal your units here, then move an enemy unit from here to its base. Now this card is very interesting. This is kind of like another Shen / Rengar card. It doesn't have Assault or Shield, but it heals her units, which could be relevant. I mean, I think the big power of this card is that it essentially acts like a fight or flight for one of her units. So if your opponent goes all in on the Watcher, for example, you could just play this out as a reaction and then just move the Watcher back. I think for that alone is going to be relevant. And of course, if your opponent has already played removal spells, you can just heal units. I mean, as far as I've seen now, I don't think the healing of your unit is going to be as relevant as the other effect. I think the other effect is definitely the one you play this for. But of course, if you get into a situation where you can actually heal your units up, then this is going to be really good. Yeah, I mean, it is one of those cards that if your opponent attacks with a lot of units, you can only move one thing back, then this is not going to be as good. And it kind of sacrifices itself, so it's a one-time card in that sense. But if you can play this out, move like their Mundo back, for example, and do that whole thing, then this is gonna be really, really good. So yeah, I like it. I like green having this tool. I mean, green is probably my favorite color, green or blue, and yeah, I like them having this option. Okay, we have seen the Jax. Yep, very cool alt art here. Yep, we've seen the needlessly large Yordle, Star's Gaze, Aurelia, Ornn. Yep, Spellsonger, Tiana. Okay, that's all the mind cards. Looking very good here. We are just gonna move right on to no, we've seen all the calm cards. Let's move on to mind. Okay, we've seen the Aspiring Engineer, we've seen the Bubblebot, we've seen the Chemtech Flask, we've not seen the Cloth Armor. The for anyone who's played an MMORPG ever, then the Cloth Armor is probably something you've heard about. But okay, 1 energy for an equipment that has Quick Draw, equip 1 Mind Power, and it gives shield 2. So this is kind of the anti-card to the Dirk that we saw earlier that gave assault +2. That didn't have quick draw, this one does, so you can play it out for as a reaction. So for that reason, I think this is going to be really good. I think it's going to be really good in RA, for example, because when you play it for quick draw, you don't have to pay the equip cost, so you don't have to pay the power, and just giving something shield 2 for 1 energy is really good. I like this card a lot. I mean, it doesn't have a really high ceiling, but just giving like something +2 for 1 energy. Of course, it is only on defense, but Ari, especially the blue Ari, that's kind of what you want to do in that deck. So yeah, I like this. I like this tool. Alright, the Forecaster is a Yordle mech that has 2 energy, 2 might, and your mechs have vision. So yeah, I mean, vision, again, we've got more karma support. That might be irrelevant in some sense there. It does only give it to your mechs. So I mean, this is one of your turn 1 plays in the Rumble mech deck. Just giving all of your mechs vision makes it very easy to just dig into your deck, look for the cards you need. Vision is a very neat ability. It's not like insane or incredible, and like outside of getting synergies out of the karma, you don't really have any other cards that synergize with it, as far as I know. But yeah, I mean, it is a solid 2-drop. I think it's kind of like the purple Poro, the Vision Poro. No, it's not called the Vision Poro, but I mean, I call it that. Yeah, I mean, solid turn 1 play, I think. Okay, and then we have the Frigid Touch, 2 energy for a spell that has reaction, repeat 2, and give a unit -2 might this turn. I don't know if we talked about this, but yeah, this is, I mean, it's essentially like a baby version of the Smokescreen. The Smokescreen, of course, you have to pay a power as well and give something -4. So, I mean, the Smokescreen is probably just better than this, because if you want to get the same amount of power reduction as Smokescreen, you have to pay 4 energy, which is quite a lot to have on defense. But I mean, just the fact that you can play this for 2 to give something -2, this is better in some sense than Smokescreen, because this doesn't have the 2 a minimum of 1 class, which, I mean, I think they've just removed that going from here. So in that sense, it's a bit better, because it has a higher ceiling in that sense, or a lower floor, I guess, literally. So yeah, I think I like this card, but I don't really think this takes the place of Smokescreen. I think Smokescreen is a very different card, and I think the real power of this is that you can also use this to give 2. You can use a repeat to give 2 units -2, and minusing is not the same as damage, so you can give -2 to things at both battlefields, and then it can deal with 1 battlefield first, and then it can deal with the other one afterwards. And it's not like if you damage both battlefields and then attack into one of them, then the other damage is gonna heal. It's not like that. So that's also a plus for this one. So yeah, I think it's a good card. Okay, we saw the Cub. We did not see the Gearhead, I believe. 5 energy for 3 might. Really badly statted. But it has accelerated, so it can become a 6 energy and 1 power for 3 might, which is even worse. But it says each equipment attached to me gives double its base might bonus. So what you can do, you can play this out for 5 energy, equip it to the big friendly sword, for example, that gives, I believe, +3 might. Then this all of a sudden becomes a 9 might unit for 5 energy and a power, which is of course very relevant. I mean, yeah, I mean this is kind of like one of those cards that you have to have equipment to make this card worth even playing out. I mean, even though you can accelerate it, like paying 6 energy for a accelerate 3 might unit is probably not going to do a lot at that point. But if you can play this out and equip it with something right away that actually gives plus might, then this card is going to be really good. I mean, I think it might be a bit expensive still. You might want to run this as a 1 or 2 off. Like, in case you get it, it's nice, but it's not like necessary. And I mean, there are cards that just punish you having tall units, like a Hidden Blade and stuff like that. So it is one that you have to be careful of. But if you can just accelerate this and equip it with like 2 things, for example, and this is going to be really, really good, because it does scale very quickly. But okay, let's move on to not the Poro, we've seen that. Let's move to the Wages of Pain. So 3 energy for a spell that has hidden an action, and deal 3 to a unit at a battlefield, and then play a gold gear token exhausted. So now we have damage dealing in blue as well, which is very interesting. It does cost 3 energy, so dealing 3 for 3, and you get a gold. I mean, you might do that as well, just from hand. But I mean, of course, the real power is that you can play from hidden. Of course, it is a lot more restrictive because you can only use it there. But you kind of get the power you pay to hide it. You kind of get that power back. So in some sense, I think it feels better to play it from hand, actually, because then you essentially get a power. When you hide it, you have to pay the power first, and then you get the power back. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a very interesting card in blue. I didn't really see them making damage cards in blue, but yeah, I guess they did. Very interesting card. Yeah. Okay, we've seen the Breakneck Mech. Yes, we have. We have not seen the Drop Order. 4 energy, 4 might for a blue unit that has drop border and says, when you play me, if you control 2 or more gear, ready me. Yeah, I mean, again, like if you play gear heavy deck, and remember this also counts gold. So if you have just 2 gold out, then this is just a 4/4 accelerated unit, which is nice. It's always nice to just have cards that enter ready, especially if they're on curve. Yeah, I mean, I like this card a lot. I don't really think there is any way of playing this out on curve and getting the effect off, unless I'm wrong, but I don't think that's happening. But if you get this on like turn 3, I mean, you can also just draw it later and just get swinging with it right away. Yeah, I mean, I like this card. I think it's nice. Okay, and then we have the Experimental Heck Plate. We'll look at that now. Okay, and then we have the Pickpocket, so 3 energy and 3 might for a unit that says, when you play me, you may kill a gear with energy cost no more than 1. If you do, play a gold gear token exhausted. Now this card is very relevant in the sense that it can kill your opponent's gears. So this can kill a gold token, or it can kill one of those 1 energy gears, like for example the Dirk or the Cloth Armor, or it can also kill the Experimental Hex Plate. It could also give like the Orb of Focus or whatever, or Orb of Insight from Origins. I mean, it does have a bunch of targets, but I think the thing you're most likely killing most of the time is gold, which is nice. And I mean, you can just play it out without like, this is not a requirement to play it out, which is nice. And you can just play it out for like on turn 1 if you want to. But yeah, I think this card is a nice, neat card to have. It's not incredible, but it's pretty good. Okay, we have Production Surge, 4 energy and a power for a spell that says this costs 2 less if you control a mech, and then play a 3 might mech unit token to your base and draw 1. Yeah, I mean, I like this card in a Rumble. I'm not really sure I like it outside of that, because I mean, paying 4 energy for this is pretty expensive. 4 energy for a 3 might unit. It does replace itself, which is always nice. But I mean, it does feel a lot better when it can play it for 2 energy and a power instead of 4 energy and a power. But in Rumble, I like this card a lot. Just more ways to make mech tokens, I think, is exactly what the deck needs. Okay, and then we have Rocket Barrage, 4 energy and a power. It has a repeat, and then choose 1, deal 4 to a unit in a base, or kill a gear. So 2 very relevant abilities in this coming set. It does only deal damage at a base, and again, this is another blue card that deals damage. It's a spell, which I didn't say, but it's a spell. Dealing 4 to unit in a base, I mean, could be very good. It's very restrictive, of course, but I mean, you also have the option of just killing a gear, so it's a very flexible card in that way. It's flexible. It has flexible abilities, but the abilities are also very limited. It can be used to kill your own thing if that's something you want to do. You probably don't, but I mean, yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to see how bad it feels like to only be able to deal damage to stuff at the base, because that means that you can't deal damage to something at a battlefield and then attack into it to get that extra damage done. So the 4 damage is the only thing you get to do. You can of course repeat it, pay 8 energy and 2 power to deal 8 damage or something, which I mean, which could be a thing you want to do. It might be very expensive. It's kind of like the final spark in Lux in that way. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's a cool card for blue to have, but it might, like, the only deal damage in the base might be a bit scary, because you can't really build upon that unless you have cards like Charm, for example, where you can just move the unit into the battlefield. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's an okay card. Okay, and then we have the Temporal Portal, 3 energy for a gear that has pay 1 power and exhaust me to give the next spell you play this turn repeat equal to its cost. This is a very, very interesting card. Gives essentially every spell repeat. Of course, you can't play repeat on Time Warp. Just pay 20 energy to play that twice. That doesn't work, of course. Well, I guess it could actually work if you have the Echo. You could technically make that work. It requires a lot of build run and a lot of luck, but I guess you could technically play Time Warp twice with this card. Maybe that's like a challenge for the channel. Maybe I should do that, like challenge videos, like try to do this insane combo, just make it happen once. Yeah, that could be funny. But okay, yeah, because I'm thinking, like, one of the things that you can do with this, like, it's really good to use, like, to get like a double gust, for example. It can be really good to get like double charms. Really good to get like double, like just the cheap spells essentially, because I mean, you do have to pay the cost twice. So when you start looking at cards that cost like 4 and 5, then it becomes really expensive, because then you have to pay like 8 or 10 energy to get the full value out of it. And I think like 3 might be the limit, because then you can, I mean, you can, for example, pay 6 and then play a double Finder Center, for example. That could be very good. I think it could be very good with Stupefy. Just pay 2 energy to give something -2 and draw 2 cards. Seems insane. Using it on Discipline, like green and blue are really the colors that benefit the most from this, I think. And also purple, I guess, because you can use this on like Fight or Flight, for example, to just bounce 2 things back. I guess you could also use it on Ride the Wind twice. That could be interesting. And I guess it could also be used on Cleave, like cards like Cleave, like just give something assault 6 for 2 energy, which seems pretty insane. Yeah, I mean, I think this card is it's a very, very good ability, but again, you do have to take the turn off to play it out, which is certainly relevant. And it does cost a power to activate, which, I mean, I think it should, because if not, it would be a bit too broken. Yeah, I think the card is very good, and I think it's definitely going to be experimented with. I don't know how like super meta competitive it's going to be, but it's going to be a really fun card to have in the deck as like a one-off, maybe. I don't think you'd never want to play this as a 3-off, I think. And it does repeat stack. Can you like have 3 of this and give something repeat 3? So you can pay 4 energy and like play Stupefy 4 times, draw 4 cards, give something -4. I mean, maybe you can. Yeah, I think this is probably like a 1 or 2 off in your deck, and then if you have it out, it feels super nice, because then you can just like get all your cheap spells twice. But yeah, I don't know. I really like it, I will say that. Okay, we've seen all these. We've seen the Bellows Breath. We've not seen Card Sharp. So 3 energy and 3 might for a unit that says, when you play me, you and each opponent may play a Gold Gear token exhausted. And then for each opponent who did, you play a Gold Gear token exhausted. Yeah, I mean, this is strictly a multiplayer card, I think. You don't really want to play this in single player. Just like giving... I mean, you could technically do that as well, actually, because then you would get two gold tokens and your opponent would get 1. So you might actually be incentivized to do that in single player as well. Or not single player, but like 1v1. That could actually be good there as well. But I think the format with this shines is like a free-for-all, or like a 2v2. because then you essentially get like 5 gold, and your opponent gets 4 gold, and your opponent gets 1 each. So yeah, I mean, I like the card in multiplayer, maybe not in 1v1. All right, I believe we looked at the Ezreal. We have not looked at the Hextech Anomaly. 3 energy and 1 power for a gear that has reaction, exhaust me, pay any amount of power to add that much energy. This is a very interesting card, because it essentially allows you to play cards above curve. Like, you can exhaust a rune to get an energy, and then you can recycle it to get another energy. And this is a very interesting card. I mean, I definitely see this being like some insane like combo piece. And what it allows you to do also is that it essentially makes it so that your gears can either become power or energy, which could be really good. Wow, okay, yeah, maybe this is a card that deserves some experimenting with. Yeah, I think the fact that you can use gold to get energy could be very relevant, because then it essentially just becomes a ramp card. Of course, you do have to play it out first, which you do with all these gears. But if you play it with one of the next card here, and then it becomes free. Well, it costs 1 power, but Jace, Man of Progress, says it's a 4 energy for my unit that says when you play me, you may kill a friendly gear. If you do, you may play a gear with energy cost no more than 7 from hand this turn, ignoring its energy cost. You must still pay its power cost. Now this, of course, the big gear we all think about is the 7 energy yellow gear that has exhaust and make 3 recruit tokens. Like, that combo is just like everyone was like, oh, okay, that's what you want to do with that one. But it can also be used to play other stuff, like, for example, the Hextech Anomaly. And in that case, you kind of circumvent the whole, you have to take a turn out to play it out, or you have to take a turn off to play it out kind of thing. You kind of get around that because you develop a body at the same time, on curve, which could be really nice, because then you essentially play 7 energy worth of energy for 4 energy, which is really good. And then, I mean, yeah, this is just going to scale a lot with the more gears we get that costs 3 and above. Yeah, I mean, I think this card is insane, and like, just play like this combo as well, just playing this with this could be really interesting. Yeah, I mean, Jace is insane. I think Hextech Anomaly as well is really cool. I think it's definitely a card that deserves some experimenting. So yeah, I'll get to that at some point. Okay, we saw the Ornn with the insanely sick looking alt art here. We saw these. We did not see the Renata Glask. Okay, so this is the Renata Glask I was talking about earlier, that had like the power sync. Let's look at the alt art. So 5 energy and 4 might for a champion unit, Renata Glask Mastermind. She has 2 abilities. She has one that has 1 energy and 1 power. Draw 1. I will note that this does not require her to exhaust, so you can potentially do this 7 times if you want to. Just draw 7 cards. Really good ability, especially when you take into consideration that the Renata Glask Legend makes it so that if you're on 5 points or higher, your gold also create an energy. So that means that this just becomes pay a gold, draw 1 card, which is very good. And then the second ability is 4 energy and 4 power, exhaust her to score 1 point. And use my abilities only while I'm at a battlefield, she also says. Now I think this card is going to be really interesting to play with Heimerdinger, because Heimerdinger gets the ability, but he doesn't get the restriction. He only gets like the exhaust ability. So what you can do is you can have Heimerdinger out, then play Renata Glask out, and then immediately use Heimerdinger to get the point. That's something I'm working on now, actually. That sounds like a really interesting way to like go for the game. And then if you could also have like other ways to make Heimerdinger like relevant, like just have cards in your deck that are going to be really good with him. I think this card can be so sick. And of course you do have to, like, if not, you do have to be at a battlefield, which means that you essentially have to either play her out to a battlefield and then hope she survives until the next turn, or you have to play her to a base, attack, and then survive until the next turn, which is probably a bit much. You can also play her in a purple deck, so Ezreal or Teemo for now, where you can actually use Fight or Flight, for example, to move her into a battlefield. that could also be a thing you do. But I think this card becomes a lot better in Renata, because then like for this 4 energy 4 power cost, you could just play 4 gold. You don't have to actually pay 4 energy as well. So yeah, I think this card is going to be really sick to play around, but I think the synergy with this and Heimerdinger is really cool. And that is probably actually the easier way to get this ability off. But okay, we have seen the Rumble Scrapper. We've not seen the 0 drive. So a lot of these 3 energy gears here. Gear equipment, 0 drive. Equip 1 energy and a power. It's equipment, yeah. It says 3 energy and a power. Banish this and then play all units banished with this, ignoring their cost. And then the effect box says it gives +2 might, and then it gives the unit Death Knell Banish Me. So this is one of those cards that you want to get out early, and then just keep getting value out of. Like keep equipping this to stuff, and then just keep letting those units die. Of course, the huge risk about running a card like this is that 1 removal spell, like 1 gear removal, and this, like all these units just stay banished. They're never coming back again. And the fact that it's worded like this means that you can't banish a bunch of stuff with this gear, and then this gear dies, and then you can play out another 0 drive, and then banish that and get all the units back. You can only get back units that were banished with this specific equipment, which makes this really like it's like a glass cannon card, right? It's really high power, but it's really fragile as well, you know. But I could see this in like once we get that color combination, we can get the body and mind. We can play this in like Beta Took deck. No, never mind what I'm talking about. Beta Took is yellow. Yeah, we can play this in Beta Took, because then you can just keep equipping this, keep beta hooking stuff you equip with this, and then later down the line you could just banish this and get all the units you banished back. Yeah, I think it's a really cool card, but I think it's a very risky card to play as well, especially now when everything is about gears and equipments. So maybe this is one of those cards that like it's not going to be as relevant now, but once the meta shifts into something that is not as equipment focused and people are not running as much gear removal, then this might be a lot better. But for now, I think it's just a bit too risky for what it does. It takes way too long to set it up, and you just give your opponent way too much time to answer it. So yeah. Yeah, I think I'm actually going to stop there. This took much longer than I thought. There were a lot more cards than I imagined. So I think I'm going to save the body and chaos and order for the next video. But yeah, if you are still with me, thank you so much for still watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it, and I really hope to see you in the next one, where we are going to cover the rest of the cards where we didn't cover today. But until then, take care and bye bye.